My microphone's disconnected. There we go. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Lori and Thomasina. Lisa, you fixed my sound. No, I wasn't muted. Every now and again on this computer, no idea. I told you before, there's gremlins that happen on this computer. And I have no clue. I didn't change any settings, but all of a sudden, didn't work. No idea. No idea why. Also, I noticed that sometimes the volume levels change, which is just bizarre. So thank you, guys. I should probably switch the settings on the show so there's no lag time anymore, but I'm worried. Maybe I'll try that tomorrow. You guys know that if I switch the lag time on the show, it will it can create buffer problems on your end, which I don't want to have happen. But the response time can be much faster, and I apologize for that. I'm not sure why that was. Why my microphone didn't work. I haven't changed anything on here, but it's working now. Anyway, welcome. Hope you had a good day out there today. Yeah, no, the gremlins live here, Lori. They've got a full-time residence in my house. Every room, especially around a computer, I've got gremlins. And this one in particular is really bad. So I don't have a ton of stuff to talk about today. I'll update you on a couple little minor things I did from a trade perspective. And I want to go into one listener question. So I really got one, well, I have a couple questions from some of you, but of course that's relating to MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, and Marathon, and I want to kind of save that one for later on in the week when I have time. I've just been so busy. The question that came through today dealt with trade tracking, and I thought I've never done a show on trade tracking specifically, so why not take a stab at something like that? So let me go through here and just really quickly just go to the question. It says, do you use a software to track your trades? And that's from Scott. The answer is no, I don't use any software to track my trades. Now, it depends on the market we're talking about, right? When it comes to trading Forex, I don't worry about it. I know what I bought it at, I know what I sold it at, easy to make the difference, and their spreadsheets keep track of it all. Same thing with futures and same thing with equities, it's real easy to see exactly where I stand, easy for me to calculate out rates of return because I got a buy price and a sell price. So that's easy for me. Where I do use some software, and this may be of interest to some of the viewers out there. I know some of you that trade options are probably doing this as well. But I have just a simple spreadsheet that I build anytime I have a rolling option trade. And for me, a rolling option trade is something where I've, basically the wheel strategy. So if I've sold puts on something and I put those shares and now I'm long the shares, now I'm starting to sell calls against that, and I have a spreadsheet to track that to see exactly what my rate of return is. And that's probably the only spreadsheet that I use. And I thought it might be interesting to look at that today because, as you know, I've been in this Rivian trade for a while. And, Rivian really hasn't been that great of a performer. But all in all, when you look at the end of the day, the rate of return is going to be fairly good simply because of how options work and generating the income on those options trades. So let me show you a spreadsheet that I work with. Where is it at? So here's the spreadsheet. And I typically will do this for every trade that I get exercised on. So what I mean by that is, right now you guys know I sold the 350 puts on MicroStrategy. I'll probably be okay. No big deal. I know what rate of return I'm going to get for that MicroStrategy trade since I got over $10 per option contract. It's a $350 security. It's roughly 3%. So I'll get roughly 3% for this week on those MicroStrategy options. Now, if I get put those shares and now I'm long, the problems start to grow because now it's harder for me to calculate my basis. Because if I start to sell calls against my long position, what's the actual rate of return? So that's why I built this spreadsheet. And again, I have not built this for the MicroStrategy trade yet because I have not been put those shares. But if for some reason by Friday we close down below 350 and I get put the MicroStrategy shares, I'll start a spreadsheet. So I have a little folder that I keep track of all the trades because I like to know my exact rate of return. So here's what I did for Rivian. Let me zoom in here a little bit more so we can kind of see it all. Hopefully that's visible to everybody. I know it's kind of hard if you're on a small device, or I can actually get rid of these. Let me just delete some columns here and then we'll share this with you guys. And I'm just trying to make it as big as possible. Okay, so here is the gist of it. You can see up here on August 28th of this year, I purchased 2,000 shares. Now the reason I have it here as quantity is initially what I did is I sold 20 puts. So 20 puts equates to 2,000 shares. So the day I get exercised, if it gets put to me, then I write down. So on the 28th of August, that's when I was put those shares. I believe it was 28th. I think that's maybe when I started the trade, but typically I'll do it when I get exercised. Now, because it was 20 puts, that's 2,000 shares, and then I will put down the purchase price. So when I initially did this for Rivian, it was a $12 strike price for 2,000. And then you can see later on in September, I did 40 contracts, 40 puts, which were exercised at $11.50. Now, as soon as I get exercised, right, let's say my initial trade was that I sold the Rivian puts at $12 strike price. I sold 20 of them, and I collected 24 cents worth of premium. You can see under the premium number 1 column, it says 24 cents. So what I've done here is essentially I've given myself, you can see it was a 2% rate of return, right? 12 cents times 2 is 24. That's 2%. So that was probably for a very short-term weekly trade. Now what I do is I'll click the little plus button here. I have a collapsible menu. And what I do is every week or month, depending on how I decide to do it, I will just add on the premium that I've collected from selling calls against my position. So you can see here on the top line, which I'll highlight here in dark gray, my initial entry price was 12 bucks. That's what I was exercised at. Now, I already collected on the first option contract 24 cents. The next one, next week, and again, I don't know whether these are weeks or months. It just depends on what I was in the mood for. I think these are all weeklies. Collected 45 cents, collected 49 cents, collected 12, collected 17. Today, I sold them again for $17. I sold the calls. So what I'm doing is I'm using all the premium collected, subtracting that from the purchase price to give me my cost basis. So essentially, I have collected on that one $1.52 worth of premium. All right, so I collected $1.52 premium on a $12 security. Now, on the far side of this, I have it set up so it shows me how much I've collected, how much profit I currently have, and what my rate of return is if I were to close that trade right now. So let's go look at Rivian. This is updated, but let's just look at Rivian real quick for you. So you can see Rivian right now is trading at $11.80 in the after-hour session. So I'll go in here and periodically just update this one and make this $11.80. And let's copy that down to these two lines here. So right now I have 6,000 shares of Rivian that are long. 4,000 $11.50, 2,000 at 12 bucks. We're currently $11.80. So this is where I love options, because if I was just holding this position, having bought it $11.50, this one's only up 30 cents per share. Well, that's $1,200. That's fine. If we look at the top line here, I'd actually be down 20 cents per share on 2,000 shares. I'd be down $400. However, because of the premium that I've collected, I'm actually up 2,000. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. However, because the premium I collected, I'm actually up 2,880 on those 2,000 and 7,880 on the 6,000 if I were to close it today at the current price. Now, of course, I'm not closing it at the current price. There you go. I'm not closing it today. Now, the options I sold today were for the 1250s expiring this Friday. So let's just go and play, I won't say worst case scenario, but let's say the price rallies this week, and by this Friday, I'm out at 1250, right? It's any price above 1250, all my shares are taken away. Well, it's easy for me to calculate out that rate of return, right? I can simply go here. Let me quickly change some of this stuff here, close that out, and I'll just change this to 1250 and copy and paste that one here. That would give me a total profit of, on the 2,000 shares, I collect a total of 4,280, giving me a rate of return of 17.12%. And then the 4,000 shares, I'd collect 10,680. That's a rate of return of 21.36%. Now, if we were to just do it from the price that we got it at, right? So let's say, for example, I purchased at $11.50 and I sold at $12.50. That's $1 worth of profit. That's only like a 9% rate of return. But because of the options premium that I've been collecting for the past couple of months, really since September, so 2 months, it ends up being 21.36. So that's what I use, Scott. It's just a simple spreadsheet that I made up to help me with this, because I think some of you, whether using sites like Thinkorswim or E-Trade or some other options platform, quite often options are difficult to calculate out and read on those platforms. They don't make it that easy, because some will take into consideration the premium you've collected, some don't take into consideration the premium, and I always found that frustrating. It's one of those things that just bug me about options. So this is something that I use, just like I say, for the wheel strategy. Once I get exercise or put those shares, then I'll go from there. So for example, I have on the bottom here, you can see Rivian. So I sold on November 18th. I sold the Rivian puts expiring in December. Right? So this expires in December. So I went out a 30-day option and I did a strike price of $10. Right? So since I have not been exercised, you could annualize that number. A good point. It's a great question. A great point. Let me get to that in just a sec. But I want everyone to kind of see the thought process here, because this bottom line that's in gray is not exercised yet. This one expires the 20th of December. So this is still open. So for me right now, if it stays above $10, my rate of return is 7.2%. Why is that? Because I collected 72 cents worth of premium on this thing. So 7.2% of that trade, if it stays above 10. Now, for some reason, by December 20th, this now closes below $10, then I will now start calculating out my, I changed the current price. That's why I kept it at $10, because I have not been exercised yet. As soon as I get exercised, I put in the current price here. Now it's tracking P&L, and then I'll also start selling options against that. So it's not overly complicated. Maybe I could make this graphic a little bit easier by putting little boxes around things to make it clear. Like here are the 10 boxes of premium. I'll put a little box around that one for you guys, make it easier to see, right? So that's all the premium collected. Yeah. Now, the great question from Margaret, can you annualize this? Sure. What I could do is I could insert here and I could put start and end, right? And let's say this one ended on December 20th. I could take those beginning and ending dates, calculate the number of days that I was in the trade, divide that, figure out how many, what percentage of the year that was, and then I could calculate an annualized rate of return. Now, here's why I don't do that. I don't do annualized rate of returns because sometimes I feel like it's misleading. I think many of you, you'll look at an options trade and you're like, wow, I made 8% for the week. And then your mind goes, wow, if I do 8% times 52, and you come up with this huge number. I don't like to do that to myself. I just like to know what rate of return I made on capital that I outlaid, right? How much time did it elapse really, and what was my rate of return? So essentially this trade so far, if this was started in August, I got August, September, October, I'm at 3 months on this one, a little less than 3 months. So it's coming out to be roughly, 6% per month. On the top line, Rivian, right? On that top line, Rivian. On the second line, my rate of return is much better because this one's been open since end of September. This is literally 2 months, and I'm up 21%. Or actually, no, not 21% yet. If I get stopped out at 21.50, I have to get called away. Right now, we're at 11.80. So that's the current rate of return, to be 16%. If I were to close this out today, we're roughly 2 month trade, so a little over 8% per month. So that's all I do. Yeah, and again, I try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm sure that many of you could take this and elaborate on it and make it better, but that's the only real spreadsheet or software that I use. Generally, when I get my annual trading statements, I just take them and give them straight to my CPA. This is not something I give to my CPA, right? So let's say I've got a Schwab account and I'm trading options there. I just take the documents that Schwab gives me and I give that to my CPA, calculate it all out. I don't care, make it work. But for me personally, I like to know what my rate of return is. I like to know the performance on specific options trade, whether they're winners or losers, it doesn't matter. But I love doing this type of process because let me give you an example of why I think you should all look at options from this perspective. So I'm going to go to, let me let me close this out here. Bear with me, guys. I'm going to try to show you something here. Okay, so let's adjust this price down to a level where it's break even. So I'll go $10. Nope, $10 is too high. $9.50. Okay, so now we'll go $9.80. $9.85. Okay, so it's roughly $9.83. So if Rivian fell to $9.83, I would be break even though I bought at $11.50. To me, that's the magic of options, right? That's the magic of options is I purchased at $11.50, and even though I could potentially be all the way down to $9.83, I'm still break even with all the money I've collected. That you can't do that with stocks. You can't do that with futures or anything else. To me, simple, easy way to do it. And again, it's just for personal use. This doesn't go to my CPA or anything like that. It's just simple for me. Which is John say, I track every trade. Corey created a spreadsheet with some really nice tools, and then I made it even better. I'm sure you did. Sure you did, John. Everybody, you know, I'm happy to share this with you guys. I think someone asked if I would share this. I'm happy to share it with you. It's nothing special. It's a pretty simple spreadsheet. If you want, I'll share it with you guys. That's no problem. So, you know, Scott, that's it. Again, I don't track stock trades. I don't track futures or Forex. It's only options because they get really messy from a brokerage perspective. I've got several different broker accounts, and I'll tell you what, every time you look at the options results, you scratch your head and go, wait a minute, what is that? That doesn't make sense. I bought it at this price. I've collected some premium so far, and they don't consistently adjust for the total rate of return. So to me, this is very important for anybody who does options trades. And I think we've got quite a few options traders here. The first premium is from the put sale. Correct, Margaret. In this table, the way I do it is as soon as I get exercise, I put in the column 1, premium 1 is the first premium. So right now, you guys look at the line number 6 here, right? I have Rivian. I sold 20 puts. Those expired December 20th. I've collected 72 cents. If we get to these expiration of these options and I'm not put the shares, I'll just delete this and start all over again, right? Because there's no reason for me to maintain a spreadsheet when I just collected the premium on one trade. Now, let's say all of a sudden it drops to, you know, $9.50 by expiration. I'm like, okay, great. Now I keep that 72 cents there, and I'm going to go out to the next options premium, and I'll probably try to sell, you know, let's say the $10 strike prices, and maybe I collect the weekly, let's say 20 cents. And then I just start, you know, going weekly. And I don't have to sell it at 10. It doesn't have to be the strike price I got it at. But, you know, I'll be selling options against that, and then that will give me a running total over here, which will calculate out my rate of return. So, yes, Margaret, the first column under premium 1 is the premium I initially collected on the trade. If I get put the options and the shares are now in my account, then I will now keep this line here and be building on it and rolling that wheel strategy. Steve says, I usually put a line on my chart where break-even point is. I just have to adjust that every week. Yeah, you could do that as well. Certainly do that. I like this because I can kind of tell every day where my P&L is at by simply adjusting these values. You know, and I can obviously close out options trades early if I wanted to, but just something very simple for me. All right, I definitely got a lot of interest on here from everybody. Mine is simple too, Steve. I just tally up each month as well as annually. You can link the stock ticker to get live. Yes, that would be a cool idea. I guess you just have to have the API site, like where you would get that from. I've done it before in past spreadsheets, but yeah, good point. You know, the thing with this, John, and this is just something personal for me, I'm not always trading Rivian, right? This is just one that I've been in for a while. It's working well. I'm fine with it, you know. It's working. But it could be MicroStrategy. It could be XLY, XLK, SLV, right? I change it all the time. So in a folder, when I have a wheel going and it's been going on for months, I'll keep a folder of it and with a date on it. And it'll say, you know, this is like right now this says Rivian Options Earnings. Just because right now a bunch of my stuff's in Rivian. I don't have a spreadsheet that has everything on them. I keep them individual because I don't want to have this giant running table of mess that goes on. Poor man options. I do the same thing. In my spreadsheet, I think I got that one. I usually put a line on my chart. Got that. Nice and simple. My Excel spreadsheet I track way more info, and I always look at the historical data. Nice. in Excel. Hey, you're welcome to modify it any way you like. Let me drop it. I think I can drop it into chat. I'm not sure. Actually, can I drop it into chat? I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can drop it in a chat for you guys. I don't know if I can drop documents. I think I can because I'm the host with the most. Let's go see if I can drop it in here. No. No, it won't let me drop it into chat. So, if you email me, what do you think the best way to do it is? Emailing is kind of a pain to do it, but I'm happy to send it to anybody who wants it. If you just email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com, I'm happy to do it that way. If you do a Google Sheet, that could be shareable. Yeah, but I'd like to give it to people so they could just take it and modify it any way they want. I mean, make it your own. This is not anything that's proprietary for me. But if you email me, I'll send it over to you. Email's on the screen. You guys know it. tradermerlin@gmail.com. Just say, hey, I'd like the spreadsheet you talked about, and I'm not going to give it like a lengthy, hello, hey, how you doing? I'm just going to just drag it in there and go. How about a Dropbox share? I don't have a Dropbox account. I guess I could set that up. There you go. I'd have to link it below to okay. Maybe I will in the descriptions, Daniel. That's a good thought. Yeah, maybe I can do that in Mo. Perhaps you can create email distribution list with your regulars. Not a bad idea. I probably should have done that a while ago. I probably should have a shared Dropbox, Google Sheets page. But let me look at that one today. I have a little time this afternoon, so we'll see if I can get to that one. So anyway, Scott, thanks for the question. I hope that helps some of you. I know most of the options traders are already using something similar or some derivative, but the only reason that I do this for options is because sometimes when you're rolling it for months and you're doing a weekly options trade. So lately, if you look at the premium I'm collecting on this Rivian, you can tell it's been weekly. I'm pretty sure that these were weekly as well. I just took a big chance on that one. So this has been like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and the initial one was a monthly. Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that was what. So pretty sure that was it. So hope that helps. Again, this is just something for me that keeps my mind knowing what I've earned on a specific trade, what my rate of return is, and I think it's valuable for everybody, and we should definitely be doing that. Especially this one. This is just such a great thing to see. Like if it was at 983, most people would be crying because they'd be losing a ton of money. But because of all the premium you collected, you're actually break even. Fantastic stuff. All right. Let me move on from that. If you have any other questions, type them on in. I'll gladly get to those. I'll figure some way to get out to you, but email me is probably the easiest way for now until I figure a way to set up maybe a Trader Merlin share page that we can trade documents. And if you guys take it and you have some great idea, you want to upgrade it, got something cool idea that you want to modify with, fantastic. If you want to send it back, I'm happy to share that with people as well. Or like I say, maybe we can have a shared document that you guys can work on. I know that Corey has some really cool ideas, and I'm sure others of you are using different things. Is encouraging to see the accumulated premiums. Yeah, right. I think that's pretty important. It doesn't seem like much, but if you look at the rate of return that this has been bringing in on a weekly basis, I'm looking at a $11 security generating in a week 17 cents worth of premium. That's roughly 1.5% a week. Now, that's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a ton of money. It's not like a colossal rate of return. But when you think that the average rate of return for a stock market is 8% per year, if I'm collecting 1.5% per week, I could equal an annual rate of return for the stock market in about 2 months, less than 2 months. So, this one here was 1.5%, 1%, 3.5%, almost 4%. Actually, this was 4%. So it is interesting to see how premium can just accumulate and get better and better and better. Steve says that's a good idea. I have all in one sheet, but I've had thousands of sheets. Exactly why I don't do it, Steve. Exactly why I don't do it. And again, I'm only doing this if I'm rolling. If I get a rolling trade going on, the wheels open and now it's selling. I mean, I'll be honest. This is one of my favorite things to do. Yeah, I like when I buy a stock and I hold it and it does well, but the Rivian trade by itself. Here, let me do one more view here, and I'll show you something interesting. So I'll show it. We can see most of the stuff here. Let's delete this one real quick. Let's delete that. And I'm going to hide all this stuff over here. Let's delete that. Okay, so if, let's say the current price is $11.80, which is what it is at right now. Oops, not $1.80. Because I've been selling options on this, my rate of return is double digits for both of them. I got 12.2% and 16.69%. For a total, let's just delete this guy. I won't save this one. Let's delete that. I'll do a sum here so we can see exactly what the earnings is. That's $10,760 earned in less than 3 months, and it's not a lot of capital on the line. However, if you didn't trade options, if you were just, oh, I bought some Rivian and now I'm holding on to it, here's what you would look like. I'd be down 1.69% on the top one and only up 2.54%. I've made $800. So because I'm selling options, I've collected $10,000 worth of premium on this trade. I mean, that should speak for itself. That really should make everybody out there who's watching this go, what in the hell? I should be using options on my trades. Now, what's the catch, right? Is it all perfect? No. The catch is that I sell these $12.50 strikes that take my shares away. That all 10,000 disappear, right? Or 6,000 disappear at $12.50. So let's say on Monday, or let's say tomorrow, Rivian says we're being bought by Tesla. And the price of Rivian jumps from $11.88 to $35 a share. Unfortunately, I wouldn't get 1 penny over $12.50. That's the only real risk I have here, is that my shares get taken away. And does it happen? Absolutely. This is probably the worst one that's happened this year to me, was Tesla. I had the $210 strikes on Tesla. And I got filled. The shares were mine. No, it wasn't that one, was it? It was here. It was here. We can go back to April of this year. It might have been the 150s or something. I think it was the 150s or 140s. I sold some puts on Tesla, got exercise, and then I sold the 165 calls thinking it won't get there by Friday, and all of a sudden had this 4-day run and has not looked back. Now, unfortunately, I would have done better if I just held the shares and didn't sell options. But that's just a risk I have to take, right? It's just a risk of what happens in the markets where something goes on a big run. And this happened to Rivian a couple weeks ago when we had that really big run up. Here's one in particular where I had sold the 1150 calls and it shot up and jumped up to $13. I'm like, oh man, my shares are going to get taken away and everything above 1150 I don't get. And it's frustrating, right? Oh well. But then it dropped back down and I got to keep my share. So, there's never going to be a path to trading where everything works out perfectly and you're like, come out smelling like roses. Sometimes those shares get taken away from you and it frustrates you. I know, Steve, you've commiserated a few times with me before. We're like, oh, I love those shares were taken away. Oh, serenity now. Next trade, right? So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hope you got something out of that one. I know it's very different than what I normally do. Oops, Control Z, I want to undo that on this program. But, that's transparency and kind of showing you what I do and tools that I use. That Trump EV tax credit saved it. It wasn't the tax EV tax credit. That should have hurt it. It was the deal with, it wasn't that, it was the, you mean saved it by dropping it back down. Yeah. What popped it up that day was because of the Volkswagen deal, right? More money from Volkswagen. My Tesla will be called away at $275 in another week. And Lori, I'm pretty sure on that Tesla at $275, you did okay. You made some decent money. I'm assuming. But you're probably kicking yourself like, man, that's $75 per share I could have held. So what? Move on. Lost PLTR at 50. Oh, man. It's tough, I love it when you get something that's got a nice smooth trend, like Palantir did back here in September, right? It was moving up, it had a pretty smooth trend. What gets you is this stuff. All right, it jumps up 20% and then just keeps rallying. You're like, oh man, I wish I would have got it. Or SMCI would be another good example, right? That thing has gone from $17 all the way up, and I stopped out of this one all the way up to $45 in 2 weeks. Oh well. It is. It is what it is. It is what it is. All right. So email me if you want. I'll get a copy of that out, and then I'll look at setting up some kind of Google Sheets or Docs that we can use and share collaboratively if you want. But hopefully that will help some of you. I know many of you are, man, these crypto, I get these alerts now. My phone has just been blowing up because of Tron, which has just been soaring. Did MicroStrategy BTC purchase pop up yet? So no one that I've contacted on Twitter has given me any, not even responded to any of the questions I had on it. Now, when you look at the MicroStrategy thing, everyone keeps saying it's the OTC market, it's the OTC market. I get that, right? I get that there's an OTC market, which is basically peer-to-peer. Typically when that happens in the OTC market with crypto, the crypto is sent to an individual wallet. But there isn't an individual wallet for MicroStrategy. They're not documenting it, they're not showing it, which again, I just question the validity of these transactions because I understand that there's an OTC market where I could go buy 1,000 shares and not move the market. That makes sense. 1,000 Bitcoin, I could see not moving the market. But 55,000? Come on, man. There's no way that anybody out there, private party, is going to say, sure, I'll sell you 50 grand or 50,000 Bitcoin. $5.4 billion worth? Sure, yeah, here, just take this stuff. No way. Not going to happen. Lisa, yes, you had asked about, yes, certainly. I responded to that one. If you want to reach out to any publicist or anybody about that, sure, push, go for it. I'd love to get some definitive answers from people who have connections in the industry. I don't, I'm just a trader. I'm somebody who loves crypto and digital assets. I'm not a big financial connected person. I'm one of the worst networkers you will ever meet in your life. I am the worst networker possible, which is a travesty, unfortunately, but is what it is. Let's see. When we have options on crypto, you have options on crypto with IBIT, right? That's pretty much the only one right now. You do have options on crypto if you use DeFi marketplaces like Deribit, or you can even do it through PancakeSwap will give you options markets, but they're very thinly traded, okay? Very, very thinly traded. Just do a Google Drive and let people make a copy of the doc. Yeah, I'll see if I can get to that, Jim. Vanara, Merlin, which is better way? Roll over or let it get called away and back once price drops? Up to you. Totally up to you on how you want to approach it. I am actually okay letting things get called away. And here's the reason. Like, if I want to close out the trade and send, so my Rivian. Right now I have, let's bring up the Rivian chart here real quick. Great question. And this is just a matter of personal preference. Other people will completely disagree with this. That's fine. I have right now the 1250 calls on Rivian. Sold. The 1250 calls on Rivian. So there's the red line is my strike price where my Rivian shares will be taken away from me if we don't hit this by Friday. Okay? So there's my vertical line. Basically, that's my access point where I'll be taken away. If it rallies up and gets to, 1260, I'll let the shares be taken away because I don't want to have to pay to have 60 contracts closed. I'll just move on to something else. Now, could I spend the money, buy to cover that position, right? I have to buy back those call options I sold, and that eats into my profit a little bit. I don't do that personally. I let them just get taken away. Fine, call it a day. But other people would like to close it out, buy the options back, not let it get taken away, and then continue on that process. And that's just a matter of personal preference. So no real dog in that fight. I have 360 calls expired December 6th. Do you think it will stay below 360 by Friday? You mean on MicroStrategy? You have 360 calls expiring Friday. Right now it is at 3. So you're doing covered calls, I'm assuming, Manara. So you got covered calls. So you're long MicroStrategy. You got covered calls against that. I don't know. MicroStrategy is so volatile. I've been of the opinion that Bitcoin should have a little bit of a reprieve, right? A little bit of a sell-off here because it was such a monster run before it actually has that big surge and blows through 100,000. But I don't know. Totally up to you. I can't tell you what to do on the trade. Do I think it's going to be down below 360 by Friday? I think so. I think I'll have a pretty good chance of being exercised by Friday. And I'm okay with that because the second I get exercised, I'll start selling calls against it. And the premium, as everybody here is, I know we got a lot of people here who look at MicroStrategy. The premium is just insane. It's really high premium for MicroStrategy. You know, I collected over $10 per contract on MicroStrategy expiring this Friday. So, you know, that's a over 3% rate of return for just a few days. Great. Hard to beat that. Yeah, MicroStrategy at $377 right now in the after hours. You can see it's up $3.88, up 1% in the after hour. Fine. You know, I don't know where it's going to end. Right now, it feels like it's getting weaker. There's a lot of negative press around MicroStrategy, but Bitcoin is the real deal. And if Bitcoin continues to surge, it's going to bring up MicroStrategy. Now, you notice right now there's a lot of red here on some of this crypto, especially Ripple. They're having a little bit of a pullback now. But that said, there's a lot of stuff that's up. I mean, Tron's up 55% today. Love it. Good thing I have over 200,000 Tron. Thank you, sir. A lot of it from mining. So Bitcoin, which is just slightly up right now, this to me is the real story. And you notice today what happened with this. We had a long bottoming tail on Bitcoin. Real long. Okay. I'll look at Tesla in just a sec. Sorry about that. I thought you were talking MicroStrategy. This is a pretty bullish sign, guys. We had a bunch of selling pressure going on today in Bitcoin. At one point during today's session, Bitcoin was down 2.36%. It came ripping back, and now all of a sudden we're up 0.12%. So that's a pretty nice about face. Again, I'm a believer in the psychology of buyers versus sellers. At one point, this is a giant red candle. The buyer stepped in, pushed it all the way back up. Now, while that's bullish, you notice that really for the past 5 days, we've kind of been stuck in this sideways range. It's wide, but stuck in a wide range there on Bitcoin. So we'll see. I think this is a very positive candle today for Bitcoin. Overall, I do feel like it needs a pullback. It should have a pullback just because of how much it moved. But hey, if it keeps on going up, great. My MicroStrategy will expire worthless. My crypto portfolio will do well, and it'll be a win-win all the way around. So, all right, so Venara was on Tesla. Do I think so? You had calls on Tesla. Okay. Calls on Tesla expiring on it wasn't November 28th. It was December 6th. So what's that? This Friday. Do I think it will stay below 360? I do. I think Tesla is going to have a little bit of a problem here. I think that there was that Tesla pump because of the election. It just soared off the election. I mean, look at the difference between the day before the election or the day of the election and where we are today. You're talking almost 40% gain. The business didn't change. Nothing really, earth-shattering benefited Tesla. This was all hype and hope because Elon Musk is the partner now, the BFF of Donald Trump. Now, I do think that will benefit them long term, but instantly you don't see any of the numbers changing for Tesla. So I think what you'll get is a little bit of a profit taking here. I do think you'll be down below 360 by Friday. But, I'm not financial advice. It's just what I think about the prices. You have to make your own decision. Whereas MicroStrategy buying is Bitcoin is what we want to know. Yeah, they're doing an over-the-counter market is what they say, OTC. But the way the OTC market works is it's anonymous. It's designed to be that way, so you don't know who's buying it, and et cetera. Nobody else can know that information. It's between the two parties. It'd kind of be like, Margaret, if I bought my Bitcoin directly from you. I'm just curious as to where did it go? Okay, I get that you bought it. I'm okay with that. Where is it? Because if it on an over-the-counter market for crypto, it typically gets put into a wallet address. Whose wallet is it in? Where did it go? And that should be something that's tracked on the blockchain. We should be able to see a large number. It doesn't have to be 55,000 in one swoop, but there's definitely going to be 1,000 share Bitcoin tranches that moved, or 5,000 or 10,000 that moved from here to here. I haven't seen Glassnode say anything about that. Glassnode is the premier reporting site for that type of stuff, and nothing there. My guess is a big player in private deal, perhaps from China. Maybe. It is a mystery at this point for me. It's a conundrum. We'll see. All right, let me real quickly run through our top 8, and then we'll wrap up because I was planning on doing a 30-minute show, and oh boy, didn't work. All coins are red today. Looking good. A lot of them are really good. Does someone like Coinbase broker the deal and store it perhaps? Yes, John, that's a possibility. So in an OTC market, you have a primary and an agency. So a primary would be where somebody like Coinbase says, we'll broker the deal. We'll go and buy. You want 55,000 Bitcoin? Okay, here's the agreed upon price. We'll sell it to you. Do you agree to pay 95,000 per Bitcoin? If Saylor says yes, that's the agreement. Now Coinbase has to deliver 95,000 or 55,000 Bitcoin at $95,000. So the question is, where does Coinbase get it? Coinbase should have to go to the open market and buy it. I believe what's happening is synthetic, as Margaret puts it, where Coinbase is saying, oh, right, I'm making this up. Let's say Bitcoin's $90,000 right now. Coinbase is going to say, all right, Michael Saylor, we'll sell you 55,000 at 95,000 a piece. So Coinbase makes $5,000 per Bitcoin. Now, they're not actually going to go buy it. They're going to take it from their customer accounts and just move it over as a ledger entry into Michael Saylor's account. Now, if you look at the numbers here, if they make $5,000 per Bitcoin and they're doing that on 55,000 Bitcoin, times that by 55,000, that's $275 million instant profit for Coinbase. Instant. But it reeks of shadiness because Coinbase, I don't believe, is going out to the market and actually buying these things. They're saying, we have it. Sure, we'll sell it to you. They're essentially selling customer funds. That's what I'm concerned with. Because if they're selling customer funds, let's say that right now Coinbase has 100,000 Bitcoin on their books, all their customers total, 100,000. If they say, okay, Michael Saylor, you just bought 55,000 Bitcoin, then in theory, Coinbase is on the hook for 155,000 Bitcoin. That should be the inventory, but it's not. It's 100,000. They're leveraging customer funds. And if that's the case, that puts stress on Coinbase or Kraken or Binance or whoever is doing it, to the point that if there's a run on crypto, it could collapse those systems. That's what I'm scared about. His average purchase price is below 60. Yeah, not for the 55,000, right? Over time, his whole portfolio is under 60,000. But the new stuff he bought, I think, was 95,000. So he's paying higher prices. And Marcus says, November 24 tweet by Michael Saylor shows his purchase dates and price purchase. Correct. Look, guys, here, hold on. Let me pull a Michael Saylor. 1 second. Let me bring this up here and I'll show you guys. And thanks a lot, Margaret. You're really nice and sweet to me today. You're making me do over a 1 hour show. Dab nabbit. So, look, if I made a tweet and I posted this graphic right here, hold on, I'm trying to do 16 things at once. My apologies. Let's go down one slide. And I posted this graphic right here. This is my tweet. And I go, but here you go. I bought 100 million shares of Apple today at a price of $145. Everyone's going to go, oh, well, Merlin bought this today. No, he didn't. You don't know, right? Again, you can tell me all the things that Saylor says he's doing. I need a receipt. I just want to see it. We're not talking about sums of $5,000 or even $1 million. We're talking about $5.4 billion and $42 billion overall. I mean, this is not chump change anymore. So there should be some sort of accountability or transparency that needs to be done to the public, because if I'm buying MicroStrategy, I'm buying it with the assumption that he actually does own 405,000 Bitcoin. That's the problem. That's the problem. All right, let me get out of here before I do an hour show. Not going to have no more questions, Margaret. You're cut off. All right, let's go to your economic calendar and earnings calendar for the day. We'll dive in. We'll cut off there so I can go do my other things I got to do today. Economic-wise, we didn't have anything that was that important. The only thing that I think sets the tone for our markets over the next couple days is this JOLTS job openings. We were at 7.37 million. They expected it to rise to 7.5. Came out at 7.74. Now, the grand trend has been aggressively down, but it's good to see that we beat our most recent number. Now, let me zoom out here just so you can kind of put this in perspective. At 7.7 million, we're well above historical norms. And we're well above anything that we experienced back in 2000, anything on this chart We are higher than anything past 2020. So this is a pretty good number. Still very, very high. Tomorrow, Wednesday, more jobs data. You can see you have the ADP non-farm employment change coming out. You have services numbers from the ISM and financial services. That's going to happen as the markets open. 15 minutes in for the final services PMI right here, and 30 minutes in for the ISM, which is a bigger number. Both of those are expected to be above 50, which is a good sign. We'll also get factory orders, crude oil inventories, and again, that ADP non-farm employment change happening about an hour and 15 minutes before the markets open. Now, on the earnings front, we had a couple of earnings today. You had Salesforce report earnings. They missed and were up 7%. You had Okta, which was just one of the more volatile ones in the day. One of the biggest gainers, actually, up 14%. They beat earnings, went up 14%. Marvell Technology, they also beat earnings and were up 9.7%. And for tomorrow, couple smaller names, Five Below, Dollar Tree, but really nothing monumental. I posted on the Monday Morning Must-Knows, if you're from Canada, you've got a lot of stuff happening, all right? A lot of banks reporting earnings. We also have Hormel here in the States. Opinion on the December rate cut. Margaret, you're killing me, Margaret. You're killing me. Yeah, I did say Marvell beat. I said Marvell beat. Marvell beat, they beat earnings, and then they were up 9.7%. Great. Yeah, Margaret, I think we're going to see 25 basis point cut. I'll tell you what, here, I think it comes down to Friday. I think 25 basis point cut is probably the likely piece, and we'll go here to the chart just to check it out. At this point, they've committed themselves to cutting rates. They'll probably do it 25 basis points. There's a 71% probability of a 25 basis point cut right now. This could change. My opinion is that Friday will be the factor that determines this. Friday is your unemployment rate. And if we look at the economic calendar here and go to Friday, you can see here you got the unemployment rate. It's at 4.1. That's fine. 4.1 is okay. All right, that's no big deal. If we get a big surge in unemployment, then that'll keep us on line with a 25 basis point cut. If unemployment falls, I still think it gives them the opportunity to cut. Remember, if unemployment means they'd want to cut just to stimulate things, unemployment as it stands now is more elevated than it was, back in 2023 in the early days of it. I still think that the unemployment rate either way is a green light for them to cut rates, one way or the other. However, the degree to which and the talk track will change based off what this number is. So there you go. That's right. 21 out of 56. Chio, thank you for that. Yeah, hit that like button. It was a fun day today. Again, Scott, thank you for the question. I appreciate it. I hope that sharing that document with you and showing kind of tracking trades helps some of you. Those of you who are options people, you should be doing it, man. Especially, I'm a numbers person, so I love to look and see the results of trades. Certainly we have good trades sometimes, you have bad trades sometimes, and it's not just about the results, it's also about going back in and analyzing what worked in those trades, what didn't work, but hopefully that will help out some of you. All right, no way, Oliver, I'm out of here. I gotta go, got things to do. So thank you guys so much. If you have something you want to discuss on tomorrow's show, tomorrow's Wednesday, hump day, let me know. Email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com, or let me know if you want that spreadsheet, and I will get that out to you as soon as I can. Thank you guys so much. I will see you mañana. Take care.